So we're going to talk about giving a regular lesson. Before we start, just for your information, there are step-by-step guides for every type of lesson on Google Drive. And you can find them by typing in step-by-step, and it should appear already, types of lessons step-by-step guides. As you can see, they are all there. Today we are talking about regular lessons. So there you have your step-by-step guide. I would recommend keeping that close, especially for the first few regular lessons that you give. After you've given a few, it should become second nature, ideally. So first we need to log into the LMS. And as I have previously mentioned, you can find the LMS by simply doing a Google search. Okay, so we log in, and as you can see, this is the home page. And under Scheduler, you can see the lessons that you have scheduled for the current day. As you can see, I have a lesson, Socializing and Small Talk with Quentin, at 12 p.m. today. I also have one with him at 2 p.m. today. But for now, we're going to look at regular lesson. So to access the training page, you can click here. And as you can see, it will take you to Quentin's training page. There's his name, and that's his training page. In his training program, you can see he has a few different lessons, but the one that is highlighted yellow is the one for today. As you can see, the date, his name, etc. If you want to select a different lesson, you can simply click on the other lesson. That lesson becomes highlighted and it shows you the date and time of that lesson. But let's go back to the lesson that we want to prepare for. So a few minutes before the lesson, I would recommend getting the lesson notes ready. To do that, you click on Materials and then you choose which file. .doc I recommend for OpenOffice users and for Mac users. It's Word version 97 to 2003. .docx is Word version 2010. So I use .doc. Öffnen means open in German. So I open the document, and as you can see, it is the lesson notes for this lesson, Socializing and Small Talk. So I need to enter the learner's name, Quentin Pinvidic, and the learner's company. I can show you how to get that information. You should already know, but if for whatever reason you forget or can't find it, you can go to the profile page. Their email address is a good indication, or you can see it under account, which is the same as company. So I can go back here and type in training object, and then I also need to replace his name here. Okay, and then as you can see, the rest of the lesson notes are already filled in. Here, additional teaching points, that's where you can write anything extra that you talk about in the lesson that isn't actually covered in the lesson. So maybe some new vocabulary or expressions, or maybe you quickly talked about a tense that wasn't in the lesson. But if you don't, you can simply delete this. And to delete the boxes, you need to click on this little icon here and click backspace, and then it will delete. And then in feedback, I normally just write you were able to, and then refer back to the objectives. So you were able to socialize and make small talk, and we also have question words. Just paste it here. Use question words And we can also say use relative pronouns. But if you prefer, you can have or give more objective feedback. For example, you did a good job today, you were able to use question words very well, but we could work on the vocabulary, for example, using a variety of words, something like that. And then under corrections, it's good to aim for 5 corrections per lesson. And it's good if you can write the corrections during the lesson. So as you hear the learner say something wrong, you can type it here. For example, I went to the pub tomorrow. Let's say the learner said that during the lesson, then you can write that during the lesson, and you can also, in a spare moment, write the correction during the lesson. For example, I went to the pub yesterday, and then you can cross out the part that is incorrect and underline your correction. As I said, it's good to try and do this during the lesson. Same for phonology, and for that I just open the freedictionary.com. So take a big deep breath whenever that happens. So www.thefreedictionary.com, and then whatever words the learner says incorrectly, you can simply type the word here, for example throat, and then type the word here, and then copy and paste the link. And again, it's good if you can try and do that during the lesson. And as you can see down here, you also need to write in your name. You can write your full name or your first name, whatever you prefer. So there you have your lesson notes prepared, and you can save them. I have a folder on my desktop entitled LNs, which stands for lesson notes, and then you can just save them Quentin Pinvidic, yeah, this one for example, and I can replace that because I had prepared that before. Okay, so there you have your lesson notes ready. Also, sometime before the lesson, ideally at least half an hour before the lesson, it's good to send a reminder email. So you can go back to the learner's profile page, as you can see, copy their email and paste it in a new email, and then just entitle it lesson reminder 12 p.m. today, for example. And then to get the link, you go back to training program, and you can just write something like, hello Quentin, here's the link for the meeting room today. And as I said, to get the link, you're back on the training program, and you scroll down to start meeting. Click on start meeting, and a meeting room should open. While that's opening, you can go back to the training page, copy the link and paste it in the email. And then it will go from 12 to 12:45 p.m. I look forward to talking to you then. Something like that. And then you can send it, which I won't because this is just a demo. Okay, so now our meeting room has opened. As you can see, it has automatically loaded the presentation, and also the instructor guide. So personally, I prefer to use the instructor guide in Google Docs or Google Drive, so I can get rid of this area on the right here. I would like to get rid of that, so I go to Meeting, Disable Presenter Only area, and now I just have Socializing and Making Small Talk, the participant view only. As I said, you can go back to Google Drive and find the instructor guide here. Whatever is better for you. So, now you have the meeting room all ready for the learner to enter. Just some important points. As you can see here, send lesson reminder. We already talked about that. Set up tools and materials. It's good if you can do an echo sound test on Skype. Maybe not before every lesson, but and maybe not every day, but every now and then, and definitely if you download something new or you change the setup of your computer. And before the lesson, make sure your Skype recorder says recording on. So if I go to my recorder, it says here recording on. And then it will record the lesson. If it doesn't say recording on, you need to turn it on. And you can do that. I will just turn it off by clicking stop. You can do that by clicking turn on recording here. And now it's on. I'll be honest, this can be temperamental. So maybe you need to click around a bit before it works. But that's just some advice on the side. You can find the IG instructor guide in Google Docs by clicking here. For example, this is B1, B2, Business Socials 2, Socializing and Small Talk, Instructor Guide. And there you have it. You can keep it open here and then jump between windows as you give the lesson, or you can download it and save it somewhere on your computer so that you can open it each time you give this lesson. So that's that. We already downloaded the lesson notes and they are prepared. Now, as you can see, it's very important to call exactly on time. The lessons only go for 45 minutes, so if you call 2 or 3 minutes late, it's actually quite a long time considering it's only a 45-minute lesson. And at the beginning of every lesson, it's very important to ask if it's okay to record the lesson, especially if it's your first lesson with the learner. After that, maybe you only need to ask a few times after that, but it's very important that this question is asked. And as you can see here, the recommendation is to fill out the lesson notes as you do the lesson. So if I'm giving my lesson, I have these 3 windows open. I have the instructor guide here, that's open for me to see and use as I give the lesson. I have the meeting room here, and I have the lesson notes here. So I can start the lesson by asking, is it okay if I record this lesson? Then I can make my way through the lesson, and wherever the learner makes a mistake, I can type it here. As the learner is talking, as you're talking, and then if you have a spare minute, you can write correction underneath, for example. And then I can jump back, move ahead, and then as we get to the end of the dialogue, I need the CCQs, so I come back here, scroll to the end of the dialogue, and here we have discussion, instructions, and CCQs. So that's normally how I do it, just jumping from window to window. As I said, if you prefer you can have the instructor guide open in the meeting room, and then maybe you don't need the extra window. Then you will only need this one and this one, but that's up to you. Okay. So, and yes, for every lesson you need to be logged into Gtalk, and that is so customer service and I can see that you are there. If we can't see that you are there, we can only assume that you forgot your lesson, you're running late, you're having internet problems, you're having a blackout, whatever. So you need to be logged into Gtalk, but you do need to have the do not disturb. For example, lesson. That way, people will know you're in a lesson and shouldn't ask you anything. Same for Skype. Should be logged into Skype. You need to use Skype to call the learner, but you should be on do not disturb. And to call the learner, you can go back to the training page, go back to their profile tab, and you will find their phone number under user media. See, you can see this person wants to be called on Skype. So there is their Skype name. I can copy and paste that into contacts. And there he is. For a phone number, you don't need to do that. You can just go to this call phones, and then the number would be here. And again, you can copy and paste it in here. And then the green button, you'll be able to click the green button to call. The country code should automatically change, but if it doesn't, you can select it here. Most of the numbers you call will be in France or Germany. So that's how you can call the learner. And as I said, your status needs to be do not disturb, so we change that here. Online when you're not giving lessons, do not disturb when you are giving lessons. And another very important point for all lessons is to give and get feedback. Learners expect to get feedback and are disappointed if they don't get it. And it's important to get feedback, because if you don't ask and the learner is unhappy, you won't know it and you won't know what to change in order to make them happy. So that just involves a few sentences at the end of the lesson. For example, you did a good job today, you're very good with question words, but we could broaden your vocabulary a little bit. Get feedback. Was this lesson good for you today? Are you happy with the topics that we are covering in your training program? Just simple questions like that. And then you can write the feedback if you think it's appropriate for any other instructors, from the training and operations manager, for service or for sales. You can write it on the feedback wall here. So, feedback from learner. As I said, the only people who can see this is you, the instructor, your training manager, customer service and sales. The learner cannot see this. And then you just press send, and there you have the feedback. To get out of that window, you can close it. Okay, so let's say we have done the lesson. We work through the lesson, writing corrections as you go, maybe writing a few phonology corrections as you go through. Okay, and then you finish the lesson after having given and gotten feedback. At the end of the lesson, you need to schedule the next lesson. This is very important. Otherwise, if the learner does not have a lesson scheduled, they can disappear, essentially. So, before you say goodbye to the learner, after you have given and gotten feedback, and before you say goodbye to the learner, you can schedule the lesson by going here. Let's say the learner said they want a lesson next week at 10 a.m. Next Monday at 10 a.m. You double click. Can take some time. And the learner can always schedule more than one lesson if they want to. Double click. And then you choose the learner. So we're looking for Quentin. We need to choose the training program if they've done more than one. The next lesson should automatically load. Duration should also automatically be there. All the rest you can just leave as it is and then click Save. Again, sometimes it takes some time, but there you have the lesson. So, that's very important, as I said. Okay, so now we have finished with our lesson notes. We have hopefully at least 5 corrections and a few phonology suggestions. Now we need to save it as PDF. You cannot upload it unless it is in PDF. So we save that. And then we go back to the training page. And upload lesson note here. So I can go to my desktop and find the lesson notes. Quentin. Here has to be the PDF version, and save. Only takes a few seconds, and there you go. And then you also need to upload the recording. Unfortunately, I can't show you how to do this for this lesson. I will show it in another lesson. But what you would do, again, go to Materials, Upload Recording, find it, again on your desktop, and then select the recording. As you can see, I don't have any, which is why I can't show you, but that's how you would do it. Okay, and then you should be able to set the lesson to completed. In order to do that, you need to come back here and click End Meeting. You'll be asked this question, okay, are you sure? Okay. And then it will take a few seconds to load. And then you can come up here and click Complete Lesson. Are you sure? Okay. And as you can see, now there's a tick and the status is completed. And there, that is how you give a regular lesson. Check report we will talk about another time, but this is important. All of this must be done within 12 hours of the lesson finishing. If you cannot do that, you will not be able to complete the lesson. And if lessons are not completed by the end of the month, when we are processing payroll, then this lesson may not be included in the current month's payroll. You may need to wait until next month. That's why it's very important to do it within the 12 hours. Okay, then you can close everything. Change your status back to online in case somebody wants to talk to you. And go back to your home page to prepare for the next lesson. So, thank you very much.